going to make a wine glass. I've done this demonstration before, but I'm going to do it with a slightly different stem. The stem I did before was solid. I want to do the stem on this one open. So there's always different methods of doing things. So I figured, oh, I might as well show you another way I've done wine glasses. I'm going to center this. This will be the wine glass top. It's a very small amount of clay, so I'm really cupping my hands together. Instead of doing this, I mean, the clay isn't big enough, so I'm bringing my hands together into a smaller form, holding that clay nice and steady, but keeping it wet so the clay slides nicely. It's centered, so I'll make my well. On smaller pieces, it's so easy to go through the bottom, so I stopped myself before I could do that. I'm going to open it up a little bit more, and then I'll start pulling it up. When you make your pulls, it's better to slow the wheel down a little bit, because otherwise that centrifugal force will help you to stretch the clay faster than you probably want it to stretch, and then making your pot crooked. Soak that water out of the bottom. The longer you leave the water in there, the more likely you are to have a crack. The wheel was going a little fast, so I slowed it down again. You can see it wobble a little bit. I let the clay get too dry when I was making that last pull, and so it started to stretch in one area. You stretch the clay more if you let your fingers dry out, which is fine if you can be really steady and you got plenty of clay to work with, but this is a smaller piece and it's already thin, so the wiggle is showing up. No big deal, because when it sits still, you can't see that it's wiggling. Okay, so that's the goblet top. And now I'm going to show you that open stem I was talking about. So again, it's just a small amount of clay, and I'll center it. There we go. Nice. Okay, so I want to try to keep this as narrow as can be, because I'm making it upside down actually. So what's down here is going to be reversed and attached to the bottom of the drinking part, the glass part, if that makes sense. So this is the stem, and I'm making the stem upside down. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make the well all the way through to the bat. There will not be a bottom on the stem. I have to keep it nice and slow, so I'm slowing the wheel down a bit, and I have to keep it nice and wet to make my pulls, because if I pull too much and the wheel's going too fast, this would easily rip right off. There's only a tiny base. This is only a couple of inches wide, maybe 3 inches wide, and there's no bottom. So there's very little clay attached to my wheel head right now. And with extra force, if I am a little too aggressive with it, this clay will just pop right off. So I'm going to be extra careful. I want to make it nice and narrow, so I'm pushing in a little bit. And I want to extend it too, so I have to pull up very carefully, be very gradual and patient about this. I know there's water pilling up in the bottom, but there is no bottom, so there's no bottom to crack, so I'm not too concerned about that water down inside. It's a really small piece to make, so part of me is wanting to like, hurry up, come on, get it done. But if I'm not patient, it is going to rip off, like I said before. So I just have to calm myself down and just go through the process. So now I've got plenty of height. I'm going to start flaring it out. So remember, this is the very bottom of the wine glass. So it has to flare, otherwise my wine glass is going to tip over. And you want it as steady as can be. If there's any wobble in it, it'll be a very sloppy sitting wine glass. So we have to be really careful and steady. I am going to get that water out of the bottom. It is starting to bug me. Just because I know I'm supposed to always get the water out of the bottom. Okay, I think I'm going to try to narrow this a little bit more, maybe define it a little bit more. See how it's wiggling a little bit? There's hardly anything attaching it to the wheel. So any sudden moves can throw it off. I'm going to exaggerate the foot a little bit more. The broader the foot, the more flat surface it'll sit on. You know, it'll be more steady and less tippy. Okay, now I'll clean this up. There we go. So this is our upside down stem and goblet top. And I have another one that I made a while ago, and that's been setting up and firming up. So we'll bring that over and I'll attach these two together. Just gonna quickly wipe my hands. Okay, so now I like to wire it loose first. This is just fish line attached to 2 clay beads. I hold it really, really tight and slide it against the bat. There we go. So that it cuts it loose. And then I can attach the 2 pieces together. So, looks a little crooked. Not too bad. All right, so now I'm going to scratch and wet it together. So. The more you gouge it up and wet it, the more thorough the attachment will be. We certainly want it to attach thoroughly. That's pretty good. Get it from all angles. And then I always keep a old paintbrush around so that I can wet it and then use that to smooth out any of those lines. There we go. So that's how you make a hollow stem. Thanks for watching.